Morning, everybody. Welcome to our October 2025 meeting for Upper Thames River Conservation Authority Board of Directors. Reminder, Emily Chandler is serving as our meeting host. So if you online have connection problems or issues with technology, please contact Emily through the chat feature. Start time is 9:30 a.m. Today's meeting is being live streamed on the UTRCA's YouTube channel. Please refrain from whispers or side conversation while the meeting is running, as they could get picked up by the microphones. When the overhead squares go red, microphones are muted. If you're a board member attending online, please have your camera turned on during the meeting, especially during voting and during the closed session, which we will have a closed session later on today. Followed by Michelle, we have regrets from Peter, Skylar, Anna, Harge. Scotty is not with us in person, but I see he's online. Welcome, Scotty. And welcome staff member Ben Defoe as well. So with that introductory business taken care of, I'll turn to our land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the Upper Thames River watershed is within the traditional territory of the Attawandaron, Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and Lenape peoples who have deep, long-standing and intrinsic relationships to the land, water, plants, and animals of southwestern Ontario. We acknowledge the First Nation communities within the Thames River watershed who are connected to and by the Thames River. These nations include Chippewas of the Thames First Nation, Oneida Nation of the Thames, Munsee Delaware Nation, and Delaware Nation at Moraviantown. In the region, there are 11 First Nation communities and a growing and diverse Indigenous urban population. We acknowledge and respect local and regional First Nations as original, contemporary, and future caretakers of this watershed. And we are committed to working alongside Indigenous peoples from across the region and Turtle Island to strengthen relationships, under treaty rights, and improve watershed health. Okay, check with Michelle to confirm if there have been any modifications. No modifications noted. So the agenda remains as circulated to the board members. At this time, I'll ask if there are any declarations of pecuniary interest. Seeing none, none noted at this time, but at any time during the meeting, should the need arise, please move known to the chair. Item 4, presentations and delegations. We do not have any scheduled for today's meeting. So with that, we'll move into section 5, administrative business. The minutes for the meeting of September 23rd have been circulated to the board members as part of the agenda. I'll first get this item on the floor. I'll look for a mover and seconder that the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority Board of Directors approve Board of Directors minutes dated September 23rd, 2025. Moved by Hugh, seconded by George. Any questions or comments on the agenda, or sorry, on the minutes from the last meeting? Any errors or omissions? Okay, see any hands up? So then I'll call the question. All those in favor of approval of minutes? Opposed, if any? It's carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 5.2. Any business arising from the minutes? I have none noted here on my notes, but I'll check with the members. Seeing none. Okay, correspondence. We have no correspondence submitted for consideration. So we'll move into section 6, reports for consideration. 6.1, the 2026 draft budget for circulation. And I'll look to Tracy to provide an overview presentation.
On screen. Just thought I'd highlight a few of the points. Of course, we saw the preliminary budget in August. And I've circulated the draft in your package today. I just wanted to highlight a few things that we've done since that time. So over here too. Next slide, please. With the 2026 draft that you see before you, we always like to highlight that the budget figures will change. They're constantly and continuously updating our budget process. And as soon as this budget was printed, we were already seeing some changes happening, and some good news that we're receiving. Again, we're trying to present a balanced budget. Right now it's fairly balanced, pretty close for category 1 programs, and that aligns with our budgetary reserves policy. And overall, we're seeing about a 4.9% increase to the municipal share of mandatory programs and services in those category 1 programs, which is reduced from what we were forecasting. Next slide, please. A few of the changes that we've seen, certainly some staffing updates we've included really to support succession planning in corporate services and our water and erosion control programs. We want to ensure that we're maintaining that continuity of service in those areas, especially with some of the senior positions that we're talking about. There's been some additional federal funds for flood hazard mapping included. We've been refining our capital maintenance levy. Right now, we're seeing a reduction of about 30,000. When we're talking about capital amounts and some of the stresses that we're having, that may change again, but I'm just highlighting that was the change that's in this version. And we've incorporated some of the discussions we've had with municipal staff to refine capital project plans and updated estimates. So you'll see some different project lists in this draft than what was presented in the preliminary. Next slide, please. Some of the budget considerations, of course, that stability and delivering our mandatory programs and services is to the current staff levels. It's always key. We have multi-year contracts with a number of programs and projects, and also the Clean Water Agency funding. We've included a cost of living adjustments and pay step increases to stay competitive and retaining and attracting staff. Staffing support in succession planning and senior positions to ensure continuity is there. And then inflation costs that are certainly driving our construction and much of our maintenance budgets. The team reports the London area have seen changes between 5% and 17% for construction costs since 2023, about 14.5% on average. So we're certainly seeing those reflected in our costing of some of the projects. And we're anticipating the freeze on fees to be extended and potential some reductions in other federal funding programs. Those are kind of the thoughts that went into this draft. Next slide. For our operating budget, the draft that's provided, there's currently a projected deficit to produce, slightly about 49,000 in deficit. Category 2, largely balanced. There are some amounts that are overages, which were planned to be used in subsequent years. They're part of those municipal agreements that we have. For category 3 program services, aside from campgrounds, there's about $269,000 in deficit. And that really doesn't include many of the funding applications that are currently in progress or yet to be announced. So we often have some soft revenue there that we're forecasting. In our other category 3 programs, we do have a surplus around 855,000, but recognize that that'll be used in capital improvements, much needed and overdue for that for those areas. Next slide. I always like to show kind of the broader operating funding, showing our entire category 1, 2, and 3 programs and services. It's actually quite equal in the shares of the pie between what we generate ourselves and with those municipal contributions through levy and our cost apportioning agreements. The municipal contracts that you see at the bottom there, those are our category 2 programs that we provide on behalf of our municipalities. And then the large slice of the pie there, that's the federal grants and contracts that we have. The smaller pieces of the pie there are those provincial transfer payments and provincial contracts. Really kind of paints a picture of our overall process, sharing it here. Next slide, please. On the capital side, there's considerable capital work planned in 2026. Much is needed to maintain aging infrastructure that we own. We recognize that those project capital costs can vary significantly by project, and they impact our municipalities very differently, depending if it's a benefit-based levy or not. And also timing of the projects. Many of our WECI projects, again, fall on the fiscal year. Sometimes it's work in progress now that's being levied next year or being levied over the next few years. Our timing, again, is based on those municipal discussions that we've been having. We always apply for alternative funding offered to offset capital costs to our member municipalities. WECI being a primary driver of those, but in the case of the City of London, there's federal programs as well. When we know of approved funding, then we opted for those budget costs and we reflected in the budget as well.
Sure. Just a quick question. Which is that dam? Which one is that?
That was actually a Fanshawe Dam looking straight west.
Oh, okay. Just different way.
The hydro plant's at the bottom there, the parking lot. So yeah, it's a different vantage point, that's for sure. We're looking at it straight up.
No, thank you.
No problem. And kind of where we're seeing some of the levy changes, percentages. Christine always cautions about working in percentages because it can be a little bit deceiving, but we're seeing a 4.9% increase looking at modified current value assessment, 4.3% increases to our cost apportioning supports, a 0.6% increase for levies for operations and major repairs, but overall a change of 0.97% of all municipal support. Again, depending on how you're slicing the pie, what it looks like, and largely driven by some of those capital projects. Next slide. With our budget package that's been circulated, we've also drafted some communications materials that will be circulated to members, municipalities. I've got paper copies here as an example. It's London, so I'll pass those around that way. Okay. Again, we did this the last couple of years, providing an overall draft budget overview, and then with a one-page insert that's specific to each municipality. One there's for London, really breaking down what portions of levy or again, when we're talking about benefit-based apportionment, it varies significantly among municipalities, and this is usually very helpful when I'm attending council meetings, so they can see specifically how our levies impact our municipal partners. Certainly with this information, going with either budget committee, finance committee sessions from municipalities and council presentations. We already have several that are being scheduled right now with Stratford, St. Mary's, Perth South, one other easy me, but they're coming in fast and furious in the last week or two. So getting this information out is kind of our next desire. So with that, the recommendation, the next slide, is to recognize that this draft report be approved for consultation purposes, and recognizing this is going to be constantly evolving as we have new information, and that this package to participating municipalities and posted on our website for consultation purposes. Certainly myself, Christine, and our management team put together their individual budgets. We'll answer any questions.
Okay, thanks, Tracy. Members, any questions, comments for Tracy on her report? Andy, go ahead, please.
Just kind of curious, and I like the budget sheet that's been prepared. The only thing I wonder about is there's no comparative information to the previous year, which is often a question councilors ask. So would that be a good addition, or was there some particular reason that it's not there?
A question, if I can, through the chair, that's something that we can add. We usually intend to, and I mean, usually a question that is asked, and I usually have that on a slide, so.
I mean, I kind of asked that of the rest of the board who are municipal counselors. If they would find that useful or not. Assumption is, but reality could be different.
Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, just to follow up on Sandy's question, I think it is important when you go to the councils to be able to put that, because in a recent meeting we had, I mean, one of the issues that I see in St. Mary's being a benefit-based community is the capital expenses vary substantially year to year and has a big impact. You just look at that final percentage.
Exactly, yeah. But perhaps the other members can provide input to that. I assume these can be adjusted and sent out.
Yeah, this is the draft for now, just wanted to circulate it as an example and again, receive feedback. Finalizing them for our other municipalities too.
Yeah, and I think it's really it's important it's upfront that it's, you know, the construction cost increases, because people always like to talk about the consumer price index, which is completely irrelevant in capital budgets, and a lot of people haven't noticed that the non-residential construction price increase since COVID has just been absolutely scary. And, you know, that's what the private sector is charging for projects it's doing, so it is what it is. It's nice to see a change down in terms of the budget. It's unfortunate that there's a slight deficit, but we've been in that situation, I don't know, probably at least the last 5 years, if not longer, so it's not a terrible surprise. The budget is appointed anyway. Can you make a best guess as to between now and February, if the changes are gonna be more down than up or up and down?
Tracy or Christine?
I'm the optimistic one. I'll ask Christine her first.
I've seen some up in the last week, but I've also heard about some down that still needs to be embedded. So we're gonna try and produce something that's very close to what you see now. But until all of the input is in there, it's really hard to say. Yeah, we've had some more funding, but I've also heard about cost estimates that will need to rise. So
That I'm assuming those through the chair are things that might affect levy.
yes.
And last question, I know that the material from August in terms of the change to London's budget got included in London's budget documents that are being tabled today. Was staff able to get additional information to members of London Council for their meeting today on any subsequent changes to the two parts of their budget that were reduced? There was 16,000 in the tax and 25,000 in the water budget.
Tracy?
Yeah, through, and maybe Christine wants to jump into, but no, we haven't updated as of yet. Again, just as Christine said, this is a moment in time, and Budget Chair Plaza was very clear to recognize that this isn't our approved budget either. This is our draft, and we're still anticipating change.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Sandy. Members, any other questions? Oh, go ahead, please.
Well, I just want to thank the Finance Committee, Tracy and Christine, for tabling this. I know it's been interesting this year how we've been discussing about the budget, but I think it rewards the faith that the member municipalities and the board have had in terms of the increases and also that, you know, this is about finding stability. So I just like to thank everyone involved in bringing this forward, and I will comment further that you know, in the last 2 months, all I've heard from a lot of the top community issues in my municipalities, things that are category 3 programs that we could do with Upper Thames. So I think there's definitely a need for our services, and I look forward to moving this along.
Okay, thanks, Tom. Scotty, did you have any comments or questions? No, nothing? Okay, Paul, go ahead, please.
No questions, but a comment. I always appreciate all the additional information that's included in the budget. I think it puts the numbers in context. And I think it's even more important since we switched to the category system that there's an explanation that goes along to how these numbers come up with. And in this budget, I particularly like the information that was highlighted in blue, which was the 2026 highlights, which kind of focuses in this particular budget for 2026 and in some cases 27, 28. So just want to make a note that there's a lot of budgets are just pages and pages of numbers and they're a core of a budget, but all the other information I think is very valuable.
Thanks, Paul. Anyone else? I guess I'll jump in here as well, and I'll probably repeating what the members have said already. I guess to Tom's point, this budget is a significant departure from the double-digit levy increases that we were looking at last year, and even, well, not so much last year, but 2 years ago, when the category 1, 2, and 3 system was being introduced. So we're definitely trending in the right direction, as Tom says, towards greater stability with the organization in terms of the finances and offering the services that the member municipalities are seeking from us. However, I guess I'm being both the optimist and the pessimist in some respects. So, however, we still do have future capital infrastructure work to be mindful of going forward. Like Christine has reminded us in previous discussions about our need to focus on having adequate reserves for both operations as well as the capital side of the organization. And it ties back into the asset management plan that we're working on to get that updated and round that into focus for future budget discussions and deliberations. And as Sandy pointed out, Upper Thames, the Conservation Authority, we're the same as other municipalities or any other business. We do, as Christine pointed out, she's noted some ups and some downs. And I guess in my own personal business, I've seen like a WS&IB have received an email of congratulations, you will receive a rebate on your premiums. But on the other side of it, I have notes about capital costs, the possible impact of tariffs, and market prices are always fluctuating, to Sandy's point and Tracy's point about costs as we go towards our infrastructure needs for current and future. So yes, thanks to staff for working hard on the budget, and thanks to the board members for their participation and input, and thanks to our member municipalities for their cooperation and consultation in putting together a draft budget that so far seems to be addressing more or less the needs that everyone has brought forward. So thanks again. So we have a recommendation before us that the 2026 draft budget report be approved for consultation purposes, and that the 2026 draft budget be circulated to participating municipalities and posted on the UTRCA website. Paul will move that, seconded by George. Any further discussion, comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay, item 7, reports from camera. We have 2 items to deal with. We have a recommendation that the Board of Directors adjourn to closed session in camera at 9:55 AM in accordance with section C12 of the UTRCA Administrative Bylaw to discuss matters involving advice that is subject to lawyer-client privilege and litigation affecting the authority. You'll move that. Seconded by Tom. All those in favor? Okay, that's passed, and we are going to enter into closed session.
Well, do you mind just double checking? You back? Yeah.
Okay, so we are out of our closed session. No, the return time is 11:07 AM. So, yeah, reporting out of closed session, 7.1 advice that is subject to lawyer-client privilege related to litigation. The board had discussed these matters involving advice that is subject to lawyer-client privilege related to that litigation. So there's no motion required for that. 7.2 litigation affecting the authority concerning the Fanshawe land lease program update. There's a recommendation here that the Board of Directors receive that closed session report for him. So I'll look for a mover. Brian will move that. Hugh will second. Any further discussion on that? Being none, call the question. All those in favor? Carried, thank you. All right, section 8 of our meeting agenda, reports for information. First one is 8.1, administration enforcement, section 28, status report. Authored by Joe Gordon, regulations coordinator. I'll look to Jenna, department director, to offer a brief commentary and answer any questions about the report.
Thanks. Through the chair, I don't have really anything to add to the report. I'm happy to take questions.
Okay, any questions, board members? Mark, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I guess I just want to state for the record, for the report that I talked to Joe Gordon about the one that's pertains to the Piddock Conservation Area in Woodstock. It's not often, of course, that we'll see something that's a section 28 that actually refers to one of our conservation authorities, as this one did. But the sailing club in Woodstock burned down in February. So that's kind of an odd scenario that something of a piece of property on a conservation area would burn down like that, or a building would. So the building permit's been approved for that, and I want to thank Joe Gordon for his assistance with that, because I've had lots of contact with the Oxford Sailing Club and of course Piddock Conservation Area with getting the information on that. And Joe was very kind to give me a copy of the final building permit as issued, section 28 from the UTRCA, which was very helpful.
Okay, thanks, Mark. Anyone else? Comments or questions? Seeing none. Recommendation is that the board of directors receives this report for information. Move by seconder, please. Moved by Scott, seconded by George. Question, all those in favor? Carried, thank you. Item 8.2, project status updates. We have our list that we're familiar with, and the various stages of progress. Any questions or comments on this listing? Start with Brian and then Sandy, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, question to staff on the cybersecurity update. Very interested in that. Event, so I was wondering, is it January that we're expecting that, or is that the overdue?
Yeah, through the chair, January when we're expecting that. I did shuffle things around a little bit to accommodate our board schedules. There's a couple of different things. We have had our information technology coordinator interview, so we're hoping to have that position filled. Being able to input their thoughts on that as well. And our insurance providers with the Conservation Ontario Collective are looking into additional cybersecurity training and updates for conservation authorities to use broadly. So I think the timing will be more of a complete picture in January.
And the one below that also hydro plant. I didn't know if there was an update just with that status ones.
I'm looking over at Chris. We have had the part in, however, it involves a shutdown of power on a Saturday, and the scheduling of that keeps getting updated. Chris, I'm not sure the new date off the top of my head, but
It's actually this Saturday.
pardon me?
This Saturday.
It's this Saturday.
Sorry, next Saturday. Saturday.
November 8th.
November
Yes,
8th.
sorry. November 8th. Excellent.
But as I pointed out before, that's protecting this, then we've got to work on this, on the hydro plant. There's a lot of other steps involved, and we're currently working on work planning that to figure out what the time frame could be to get it up.
The update will include that type of work planning and what's expected.
Okay, thanks, Chris, for that information. You're done, Brian? Okay, Sandy, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to make a motion to add to the project status update a updated organizational chart. I know you and the general manager have discussed this. It's something really it's been discussed and asked about. And it's really just to help the board keep up to date with primarily, from my perspective anyways, where we're still struggling or looking to fill positions. Maybe this is something that, gets updated twice a year maybe, but let's get it on the project status update so that we can follow it.
Okay, so you're making that a motion, Sandy.
Yes, I am.
Is there a seconder for that motion? You? So I'll speak to the motion now. Any discussion, debate, questions on that motion? Mark, go ahead.
I'm just curious, maybe that Tracy might be able to answer this question, but I agree with what Sandy's saying as far as having that as far as one of our project updates, so we always kind of know what positions might be difficult to fill or who recently in a senior position is retired or has decided to leave or something. But there's a difference between sort of micromanaging and getting enough information for this board to be able to do what for example, when we went through the human resources department scenario, to be able to think, was the board receiving enough information to be able to fill such an important role at UTRCA? In my opinion, is we weren't getting enough information that role had changed and changed again. So what Sandy says about the significant positions, but when you start looking at the entire family tree of who does what, I think it's important to know that there's maybe it's too many vacancies in a certain area, and why there are, but not necessarily specifically if we're understaffed or overstaffed in certain areas.
The idea from a board perspective was if there are significant vacancies, why? And if that becomes a board matter, then yeah, we have a discussion, but if it's totally different, I agree with you 100%. We're not here to micromanage what staff does in terms of HR.
Brian, go ahead.
Just for clarification, this wouldn't be position names, it would just be the job description tree. To say, okay, here's the positions within the organization.
Keep the website up to date.
I'm just trying to get some clarification on what's expected.
I think it's really, from my perspective, it is where the vacancies are, and you know, something as an example, if it shows up 6 months later as a vacancy, then it becomes, why is there still a vacancy? Is it a compensation issue? Is it a pool of folks available to fill these kind of positions, et cetera, et cetera? And in some cases, it becomes a board issue, but no, I don't need to know who's.
So I guess on that point, is it more of an organizational chart, or is it a report on, is it a section on current vacancies?
Well, I think, if I can through the chair, I think one of the places where this came in was, and Jim will appreciate this, because a couple of years ago, we had talked about positions that were being created to deal with some of the provincial changes. And there were questions about how long those positions were to last. So trying to understand which are contract, which are permanent, is also part of that.
To Sandy's point, it's easier, rather than just have like a printed report in text, it's perhaps easier to visualize the whole organization tree, because I guess further to Sandy's point, we were shifting, if I remember correctly, we were shifting some members from one section of the tree, move over to another section of the tree. So it's helpful just to see the high level view of the organization tree without the names, just to identify where, if we have vacancies or changes.
Yeah. And I think the other thing, he might remember a couple, maybe 5 years ago, we had a chart. And what was really interesting about it was who was contract, which were contract positions and which were quote unquote permanent positions. I think that was, it became a helpful tool, I think, for board members at the time to be able to see the bigger picture.
So, sorry.
I'll go to Tom and then back to Brian.
Don't we get those updates? It's just like part of the budget process. Like, I remember I've seen them before, like the org charts and like get those updates periodically, and then also the directory is pretty good on the website.
We received at least one report, say, back. Well, at the same time that the category 1, 2, 3 changes were being made, and we had something then, and I know at that time I had asked, like, I guess to Sandy's point, once these changes work their way through, can we get the refreshed version? That was, well, I guess that was a discussion from last year, 2 years ago.
It was like a periodic organizational review.
Pardon?
Periodic organizational review.
Yeah, well, it's just a summary, a report, just to give up the updated status of the organization, staffing wise. It's the intent. Brian?
My question would be through you, sir, to staff, is there sufficient clarity on motion to be able to understand what the direction would be with expectation?
Yeah, through the chair, I would say that my understanding is it'd be helpful to have just an updated generalized organizational chart highlighting where there are current vacancies with a report accompanying if there's an explanation for the vacancies and if there's any issues. We are an organization now that we're quite fortunate. We often see a lot of staff positions evolving and moving into newer positions. And to me, I think that's a great benefit that we've been able to retain staff and train them, and they've been able to take on more responsibilities and grow in their positions. But I totally understand if the board wanting to understand if there is an issue because we haven't been able to hire specific engineers or planners for a while there. It was a really competitive marketplace, and all municipalities were trying to grow their planning departments to accommodate the legislative changes. So there was a lot of competition at that time. But it is something that we do have organizational charts that identify by color coding if the positions are permanent staff or if they're long-term contract, even the summer students. We should be able to supply that to the board. Our current chart, I'm looking back at Eleanor, has all the details, the names and everything else like that. So perhaps that's something that could be shared. All that information is available on our website as well. So I don't know if it needs to be protected in any way, shape or form. It may serve a useful tool for the board members to know who does what as well. But
And just to follow up to the mover and seconder, does that match what your intention? Okay, that's all I'm looking for is everybody's on the same. So
Fine, thanks for
working
the,
here.
thanks for making the clarification, Brian. Jean, go ahead, please.
Through the chair to Tracy, I just wanted to know if there is any significant vacancies, because on your website, there's no jobs to be found on the job board.
Now, I don't believe. If there is a vacancy, it's because we are looking at a potential reorganization, for example, planning and regulations. Just receiving the report, the draft report from Blackline about streamlining. This was an opportunity to hold that vacancy until we have the recommendations of that report to understand if there's any changes to be made. Can't think of any other. I'm looking back at Chris's department if there's a vacancy there.
There is, but it's not really a vacancy, because we fill either one or another position and it shows up as a vacancy. A project engineer, resources technician. So it's not. A vacancy.
Any other questions, comments? Can you?
Teresa, did you have anything?
The only thing that I would mention is that we are really looking at our operational planning out of the strategic plan and as people's positions are changing, we're looking at, making sure that the organization reflects our strategic objectives. So we do expect there to be changes to that chart, and we're discussing them now. So, I mean, it's very timely to speak of it because you have the strategic plan really in your mind to be able to see us putting that kind of into practice, making sure it's reflective.
And I guess for what it's worth, there'll be a new term of council starting following the 2026 election. So the chart would have to be brought forward anyway when the new term starts for any new board members that would be joining us at that time. So a lot of intersections or roads intersecting here at the same time here coming up, looks like. So
For the motion,
I'll
just
ask, Michelle, just to read back the motion one more time for us, please.
That the board of directors receives the report for information and that that the board of directors receives the report for information and add an organizational chart and report to the project status update report.
You're good with that, Sandy? So moved by Sandy, seconded by Brian. Or, sorry, no, it was a Hugh.
Hugh.
Yeah, sorry, Hugh.
they
Okay.
look alike.
Brother. Okay, kindred spirits. Okay, so moved by Sandy, seconded by Hugh. Any further discussion? None, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to 8.3, the 2026 house rental house rates report prepared by Brent. Anything further you need to add to that, Brent?
No, nothing else to add. The report is before you and the rates are tabled in the past 4 years for your reference.
Okay, so I'll read the recommendation first and then I'll go to questions. That the board of directors receives the report for information. Seconder, moved by Tom, second by Brian. Any further questions or comments on that? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed, if any, that's carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 8.4, administrative review of officers, ARO discretionary policy decisions, quarterly report. It's prepared by Joe Gordon, our regulations coordinator. Jen is available to answer any questions of the report from the members. Open to take questions or comments at this time. See any? Recommendation is that the board of directors receives the ARO quarterly report information. Moved by Hugh, second by George. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? It's carried. Thank you. Section 8.5, funding proposals update. Teresa's compiled a report for us on this front. To note, significant funds are leveraged to support the work of the Conservation Authority, as alluded to earlier during the budget presentation by Tracy. Quite an array of different funding sources and amounts, dollar amounts. It's quite an extensive list when you sit down and look at them all together at the same time. So floor is open to any questions. We might have. Paul, go ahead, please.
I have a question about the two of the largest items on the list. So it's listed under ongoing contracts. Canada Water Agency, Great Lakes Freshwater Ecosystem Initiative. That's the big one we've heard about. $5 million a year for the next 3 years, 4 years. But there's also a separate one, same initiative, only it's Innovation Stream, 250,000 for the next 3 years as well. What's the relationship between those two grants? And basically, what can you spend the $5 million a year on, and what can you spend the 250,000 a year?
Tracy or Tatiana, go ahead, please.
I'll let Tatiana jump in. I just know that we're quite happy to have the innovative projects stream, because that's work like on our demonstration farm and a new project up at Wildwood that allows us to kind of expand that research side as well. But Tatiana.
Yeah, through the chair. So they're under the same funding stream. The $5 million a year, that's more the cost share delivery of on the ground actions for agricultural producers. Whereas the innovation stream, that's funding for like the Thorndale demonstration farm, Wildwood demonstration farm, and working with producers on efforts to reduce phosphorus. So it's more the monitoring side of things that we can then pair with the cost share delivery program. So kind of like more like the proof of concept type projects.
So to follow up, the bulk of the 5 million is the money that goes out to landowners for adopting best management projects. Yeah. 250 is more of in-house to do research and.
Yeah, and any costs associated with the research projects.
Okay, thanks for clarifying that.
Okay, thanks, Tatiana. Sandy, go ahead, please.
Now that Paul's raised it, it triggered federal budget is coming next week. My assumption is we haven't heard anything from the federal government about this, so hopefully it's not going to be changed, at least for the next fiscal year. I would assume, maybe incorrectly, that if there was going to be a change, they would have twigged us by now.
Teresa.
Yeah, through the chair. That's our hope as well. The interesting thing about the Clean Water Agency too is that these funds are tied to multinational agreements too. So it's not as simple as like our federal government canceling these contracts. There's more partners involved in delivery. So yeah, fingers crossed that we would have heard something differently by now.
And the Americans haven't messed this up yet. Let it keep flying under the radar.
Sailing under the radars.
Well, yeah.
The proposed cuts more like operating expenses versus capital and federal government.
Hopefully, yeah.
Any other questions, comments for staff on this? Okay, no, thanks, Teresa, for excellent capturing the details on this report. I think it's helpful for board members to have when we go back to our member municipalities or just our constituents, and we can use this as a communication piece. Quite often, I get into discussions at other committees or boards, and it's easy to get all the different programs confused and intermingled, and it's easy to forget the nuances, the difference between what one program can offer that another one can't. And that's why we have two different ones in the first place. And no, it's not really duplication. There is a reason, but you'd have to kind of drill down into the details to find the difference in order to outline the significance of why we need separate programs. Brian.
Sure, I just wanna, I think, again, I think we all know we're on the board table, but I think we really have to recognize all the staff's expertise and initiative to go after this much funding. You know, it's one of the areas I've been looking in municipal finance and how we do a lot of data mining into where funding goes and how it's done. And I'll be honest, at municipal level, if we all operated at this level, our residents would be very well taken care of. There'd be a lot more competition for stuff, but it's super commendable about how much work and effort goes into this and the results that we receive. And it's something that shouldn't be lost on our municipal ratepayers that fund our levy, is that's being offset. And again, we should be screaming from the rooftops about how much money comes in to offset that and the amazing work that our staff do. These are not easy tasks, and you know, all the reporting structure and all that is a lot of work as well. So these are just, the proof is there that about the resources that are coming in from outside the organization that would otherwise not get done or would have to be funded from a different revenue source, which at the end of the day is not the province, it is their ratepayers. So very much appreciated.
Thanks, Brian. Sandy, and then Tracy had some comments as well.
Yeah, another message back to other municipal councillors is that while much of this is category 3, there is a portion that funds or reduces the need for levy in category 1. And right now, if I remember from the budget document, it was close to or just over $2 million. Yes, a lot of that is from the federal piece, but my assumption is all these other little pieces have a little bit that goes against category 1 as well. So there is more than just the benefit to the wider community in category 3 programs in these grant applications. So it flies below the radar, and it's something to recognize the benefits of it. It's not wasted time in any way, shape, or form.
Sandy, Tracy, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna tie that back to the budget slide with the pie, and you saw that balance of municipal contributions and self-generated revenue, and then those other grant programs. It's significant, and it's quite a nice equal distribution. But yeah, it is work by staff. Teresa does a fantastic job of maintaining that log of applications. And we do various submissions for funding, but even the unsuccessful applications make it kind of into that log, knowing that, you know, Teresa's always got her eye on and ears to the ground about other potential funding applications. And, you know, we've put that program together, we've got an application kind of ready, so that when something else comes along that it might fit the bill, we're ready to apply for it. So it gives us a lot of flexibility and agility to be able to be on top of that, to apply to as much as we do. And obviously, we're successful in a lot of cases too. So yeah, and your point about the category 3 programs, I think it's for every dollar in cost apportioning thing that we receive from your municipalities, $12 to $13 return on that investment through the grants that we're able to achieve. So always good to have this report at this time of year so that it ties into those budget items.
I get to put the information together. I just don't like to take credit for everybody who's writing all these up. Very, I can't say enough about people get right into it. We get very competitive.
Thanks, Tracy. Thanks, Teresa. Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, recommendation is that the board of directors receives this report for information. Moved by Paul, second by Jim. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried, thank you. Okay. Item 8.6, Fanshawe Conservation Area, day use concept planning. Brent has prepared that report for us. Tracy, Brent, do you have any comments? Just before I ask the board for questions.
I'm gonna pass things over to Brent, but it's really exciting to have this opportunity and to have an opportunity for input into this. There's lots of areas down in our day use that I think are underutilized and really trying to focus in on what the demand has been. We've seen significant increases to use. It's COVID having such an amenity feature and looking at ways we can improve that for everyone. So. Right, go ahead.
Yes, thanks, Tracy, through the chair. Grant Shaw, project manager, is one that authored the report here, but I just wanted to make one point that while we have engaged various staff through the different program areas here at the Upper Thames, review and ongoing discussion is still continuing, and we'll still some further refinements before we take this out to the public.
Okay, thanks, Brent. Members, questions? Paul?
Two-part question. Is there a timeline for this project? And do we have any cost estimates at this early stages?
Through the chair, so timeline, we're looking to get this out in December and get feedback for January, receive back to us for January and finalize it prior to the first quarter of next year. The concept plan that is, and then the second part of your question, cost estimates with respect to the design or with respect to the implementation of the infrastructure. Fair. Okay, so the first part, so the design, we've
Thousands or millions?
for this design, we've put in $20,000 for the budget to work with Ron Coutis and undertake public consultation. And then for the implementation of what falls out of that, so realignment of roads and improving infrastructure such as playgrounds and pavilions to ensure the optimal visitor experience and you know, outdoor recreation and educational opportunities. It's likely to be around the $1 million to $2 million mark, depending on how, you know, what's significant, what level of splash pad or feature would you like to include, or, you know, how extensive do you want to undertake the renovations to the Lakeview Pavilion? So there's cost estimates in the capital planning. Each project is kind of, scope is narrowed down for each project, but as a whole, I guess that would, we haven't totaled that up, but it would be significant.
Well, fair to say, Brent, that it will be the size and scope and the cost will be a function of the public input we get back.
Input, our understanding of current demand and future demand of the area as well. Yeah.
Tom, go ahead.
Is this a study that would then go to inform our asset management plan?
They would be interrelated, yes. So the asset management plan would speak to what we need, and then this plan would give information back to the asset management plan as to what.
And then we could have a multi-year budget process.
Brian?
I think it's, you know, it's a great thing. You know, how long has it been since there's been significant, a plan for that area? It's just kind of evolved over time. And so, yeah, having that plan and having a direction to go in and seeing where all the finances and stuff and over time, what's possible. But, you know, that's the great thing is there is something there. It's informed and, you know, our common use spaces, like our outdoor spaces, they're going to be more valuable going forward as we've seen through COVID, through tough times, through good times, everybody kind of travels, but bad times, whether it be financial or others, you know, you see that use and people truly value them in the end. So regardless of cost, I do think there's some great opportunities in the future for sponsorship and stuff like that. You know, it's amazing what happens when there is a plan that you can shop around to people. The outcome of it, people get excited, especially when there's you know kids involved or families. It fits very well with a lot of people's narratives. So excited about the future, and again, you can take that out and shop it and see what's gonna happen. Right.
Thanks, Brent. Tom, go ahead, please.
Does this include the entire circumference of, or just like this side?
It's just the day use area, so over the dam. And then past the turnoff to the park, and then go down just past where the Pioneer Village is. Big pavilion there. We have a washroom facility there, and then the Watson Porter, that stretch that all looks out onto the lake.
They use the trails during the day too.
Okay, thanks, Tom. Any other questions? Scotty, any questions? No, okay, all right. All right, so we have a recommendation that the board of directors receive the report for information. By Mark, second by Scott. All those in favor? Opposed, if any, that's carried. Okay, and then we move to my page here. Reports, 9.1 Finance and Audit Committee, September 25 decisions. Oh, did I skip one? Sorry. Yeah, sorry, 8.7 Thames River Current. That was circulated in the minute package. Usually I have a little synopsis, but unfortunately I didn't get a chance to go through the edition this time around, but it's there in our agenda package. It's on the website for members and the public to read over. Any questions on that, Paul?
The comment, and there's always lots of interesting articles in there, but the one I caught my eye was the article on exciting stewardship funding opportunities for landowners. And I had some time and I started doing some clicking and I went down the rabbit hole. And I found there's a tremendous amount of funding opportunities for landowners to for them to help us achieve our goals. And what impressed me was not only the amount of opportunities, but the amount of work that must go into staff helping prepare these applications and carrying out the applications and then monitoring to make sure that what was agreed to has actually been carried out. So you know, sometimes you wonder what all these people do, but I'm sure there's a lot of people that spend a lot of time on those programs. So that was one thing that really impressed me of the current this time.
Okay, thanks, Paul. Anyone else? Questions, comments? Seeing none. Recommendation is that the board of directors receives the report for information. Moved by Paul, second by Jean. All those in favor? Carried, thank you. Now we will shift into section 9 of our agenda, reports, committee updates. First one is 9.1 Finance and Audit Committee, report on the September 25 decisions. Following our last committee meeting in September. I'll maybe look to Sandy as the chair of that committee to see if he has any comments he'd like to offer.
I actually wasn't at that meeting, Mr. Chair.
Oh, that's right. Stand corrected. Michelle or Tracy, do you have anything to add there?
Yeah, I was away as well, but the audit plan was reviewed and happened.
Yeah, just a basic standard discussion with the auditor on the audit plan. Little changes or in the back nature. So this business as usual, I guess, more or less. So if there's no questions on that, recommendation that the board of directors receives the report for information. By Brian, second by Mark. All those in favor? Both, if any, it's carried. Thank you. Okay, and then hearing committee. Nothing to report from the hearing committee other than that there will be a short meeting of the hearing committee following this meeting to approve the minutes of our last meeting. There's no pending hearings for November as of yet, but we'll stay tuned on that front. So we'll move down to section 10, notices of motion. None have been received prior to the meeting, but I'll check with board members currently present to see if there's any notices of motion they wish to submit at this time. Going once, going twice, final call. Okay, none have been received. Chair's comments. Yes, well, it's I was just remarking to Paul on the way in, it's hard to imagine that we're into October. I guess the warm weather from a couple weekends ago kind of set us up for a rude awakening, but fall is here, and with that, we're getting towards the end of our calendar year on our different subjects such as the budget and other things to get us the next year. Just want to extend again my thanks and gratitude and appreciation to board members and to staff for the hard work that they do. And to the employees as well throughout the organization. It's been an action-packed year thus far, and there's still a bit more action to go through to round out the year. But no, just very pleased and happy with everyone's efforts and participation. So with that, I'll turn it over to Tracy for, or sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself again. Send it over to section 12 members' comments. So the floor is open to members for their. Sandy, go ahead.
I just want to say I was at an event Sunday at the Watson Pavilion, and I hadn't had a chance to see the inside since the renovations. It really looks nice. So my compliments to staff who worked on that project.
Okay, thanks, Sandy. Anyone else? Okay, seeing no further members' comments, now I'll turn the floor over to Tracy Annett, our general manager.
Thank you through the chair. As I mentioned earlier in the meeting, there's time of year for lots of legislative change, it seems. We've already seen some theme of red tape reductions, 10 different schedules that include some amendments to the Clean Water Act. Proposals to accelerate and improve protections for untreated drinking water sources is the name of it. But with most of that, again, we'll see further refinements through the actual regulatory changes through 3 separate pieces of regulations. But generally speaking on that front, it is about some process improvements to ensure that drinking water sources are protected, but reducing the amount of timeline and various process improvements that can make sure that new wells that are coming online can get online and serving communities faster. So for the most part, recognizing that we appreciate those improvements as well, because it reduces the amount of public consultation and time frame for consultations for staff. Bill 60, of course, was introduced as well. 12 different associated regulatory and policy there. Still going through those and recognize that we'll be coordinating comments with Conservation Ontario on those various proposals. As typical, we'll continue to monitor the environmental registry for any postings that may be forthcoming, and certainly always takes on time to review those proposals in detail to further understand what those impacts actually are for responding. So we're anticipating a little bit more. This legislature is moving quickly, and as we just mentioned earlier, and already in the second reading of some of this. So with that, that'll be in the go for the next month.
Okay, very good. Thanks, Tracy. Well, we're at item 14, adjournment. We've covered all of our prescribed agenda items, so I will call for adjournment at 11:49 a.m. By Sandy, second by Healy. All in favor? We're adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
Variance in 10 minutes.